Sanjay Hegde's point in general, as a point of principle, why should the public not know how many votes were cast at a certain booth? Why should more and more information? Today, we live in the age of technology. You're a technology master. Technology should make these things easier. It used to happen in the past. Why should that practice not continue? And also to silence critics, to silence skeptics, to silence naysayers. Do you wish that the court had maybe intervened or the election commission had taken a different position?
See, Barkha, we must let institutions which are mandated by the Constitution do their job without interference from the Supreme Court. We see a very activist, over-activist Supreme Court, which has got judicial overreach, interfering in the activities of every other constitutional authority, driving them and making all kinds of suggestions, like that appointment of election commission with a 3-member thing, which is never admissible by the Constitution. The Supreme Court should have told them very clearly, you must have a process, put in the process. Instead of that, we'll have CJ, we'll do this. An activist Supreme Court is very dangerous for Indian politics and is demonstrating now, but by repeatedly hearing all these people on very frivolous matters, they are just passing on a doubt in the minds of people, and people asking why the Supreme Court wasting time. Now leave it to the election commission. What did the election commission said? Look, we're collating all these Form 7C. And Sanjay conveniently forgot to say, the EC has said in the plain before the Supreme Court, there is postal balloting coming in. We have to count the postal balloting, add that to the 17C, and put the total numbers out, and that takes time. And I read a report, I'm not sure it's correct, which says postal balloting today is about 2%. Now these people, ADR, repeatedly went after the EVM. They did the VPATT, which had no relevance, and they created confusion. I think they're captured by some vested interest. You see the same kind of lawyers, or a group of lawyers appearing for them. I think we should let the election commission do its job. And after the election, you find something wrong, go to the Supreme Court. You have all the rights. Why create doubt during the election? We just have the
but Mohan, this refers to a practice that used to take place. This practice used to take place. So why abandon it?
Barkha, we can ask the election commission, look, this was your practice. Why are you doing it? I'm sure they have logic. What is their logic? Their logic is that, look, we want to count the postal ballots. We want to give the total votes, and we want to give it so that it's authentic. We want to check it up multiple times. Now, please remember, in the first phase, I think in Tamil Nadu, immediately after that election is over, local EC gave all the numbers, and the numbers are found to be inflated, I think. Then within 3 days, it came down. It created a controversy, right? A controversy was created. Now, what do? They release the interim numbers. After 8-10 days, they give you the final numbers for all the constituents together. It's quite possible some of the constituents take more time to come. We don't know. We should ask them, why are you doing this? Give us a logical explanation. That is fair enough. That is fair enough, and I think the issue should do it. Instead of that, go to court at a drop of a hat, have a hearing, make all kinds of allegations, because in the court you can abuse anybody, do whatever you want. The courts are very lenient, pass all kinds of things, get in the media, and try to hurt people's confidence in this. I think somewhere the court should draw a line and throw it out, and not listen to all these frivolous complaints again and again and again. I think people of this country have trust in the EC. I've not seen ordinary citizens do it, except some political parties, some lawyers who make a living by going to court all the time and creating fear in the media. And of course, the media blowing it up because, it makes good news, right? We can all have a lot of talks with you and other people constantly about this. I think, you should let them do the job. After the election, you find something wrong. If the candidates feel that they've been shortchanged, go to court. How many candidates have made complaints against the results after the EVM has come? Tell me. In the last maybe 25 elections, how many candidates have made complaints? I don't hear of many, much less than what happened earlier. How many disputes are there? They're running it well.
Okay. I agree with your point about not raising not indulging in election denialism, but we still haven't got a good answer to why we couldn't continue a practice that was a transparent practice. We haven't got a good answer to that.
We should ask.
Right?
We should ask.
Yeah.
We should write to the EC an open letter and say, please explain to us why we believe you.
Okay.
We trust you. Please explain to us. It's good to be more transparent, like you said. It's good to give data early. Please tell us a logical reason so we understand. Write to them. Don't accuse them. Write to them and request them. Treat them with respect.
Okay. Sanjay, do you have a brief response before I go to Maadhavan and Anurag?
The brief response is what the EC told the court. We are not bound to do it. We will not do it. That's all that they've said in their affidavit. That there is nothing in the law which makes us do it. We will not do it. They have not answered as to why they did
Well,
it previously
there's
and
some
why they have
claim
changed.
they've said there's a shortage of manpower at this stage. That's one of the reasons that they've given. They've also questioned that it's
Their
a 5 to 6% discrepancy.
their entire attitude in court has been of what shall I say, a hurt denial, and simultaneously saying, "Trust me." Both things don't go together. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, and if you have the data, you have the ability to put it, you had the ability to put it out earlier. There is no reason why you can't do it now. Secondly, the court has not thrown out anything. The court says, look, I'm not going to burden the election commission at this point of time. It's halfway down, more than halfway down the election process. I'm not going to put a spanner in the works. We will look at all this after the elections. And yes, when we go after the elections, I mean, when these issues come after the elections, then there are so many other pressing issues. They'll say, okay, we'll look at it, and it has gone on from cycle to cycle. I think that what the country doesn't realize is that if the election commission acts like a super body towards opacity and says, trust me, trust gets very fast eroded. Once upon a time in Pakistan, you had free and fair elections only in 1971. That ended with the country breaking up. Bhutto then had an election in 1977. The country didn't trust it. It ended up with Ziaul Haq for about 11 years. Trust in institutions has to be continually earned. Right
Okay,
now, we have bureaucrats who seem to say that, look, we have the files, we are not giving it to anyone.
okay, let's
Barkha,
open this up. Yeah,
Barkha, one
Mohan,
minute, one
briefly.
minute.
Yeah, okay.
Barkha, we had the curious case of selective justice in this country, where one activist called up the Supreme Court judge and complained about something. They set up a two-judge bench, and then the order did not come. It was split. They set up a three-judge bench the same day to give bail to a person. We've seen such discretion being applied. Now, I have not seen any of these activists question that kind of attitude by the biggest court in this country, where selective justice was handed out. Now, this is an attack on the EC because they feel by attacking the EC and bringing our esteem, not letting them do the work, they'll create fear and confusion. Come on, Karnataka elections happened. The Congress came to power. Anybody contested the EVM? Everybody contested. Nobody. Right? In 2004, the elections, and nobody contested. 2009, they don't contest it. Why is it when the other foot, when they're about to lose, all these people get together, same set of people, create confusion multiple times? One time is okay. Multiple times on EVM, on the same thing. Oh, transparency, this thing, all the time. Yes, transparency is required. Why go to Supreme
Go
Court?
on
Why should
and
Supreme
on.
Court listen?
Okay,
Transparency is
okay,
required
okay.
everywhere. Even for lawyers.
Let's
Let's take the
allow
other.
let's allow the others to speak, and we'll come back to Mohan and Sanjay. I do want to say, Sanjay, while I'm all in favor of greater transparency, and I agree with you, the sunlight is the best disinfectant. I don't think we're in Pakistan. We are not in Pakistan. I'm sitting in Baramulla right now, which has voted in greater numbers than Mumbai. So, and this is Kashmir. So I just think that we should also celebrate parts of our democracy when there is something to celebrate. And I think, Kashmir has gone through so much today. To see so many people coming out and vote is a good sign. Sanjay, sorry, you wanted to say something? Or
Quick
you want
one
to go to
liner.
Maadhavan?
Quick one
Yeah.
liner.
Yes.
I was TN Sessions' personal lawyer when the election commission was made a 3-member commission just to cut him down to size. So I know what the election commission is capable of. We'll leave it at that. We'll come back later.
Okay, fair enough. Maadhavan, is there a contradiction in the opposition's position? And I know none of you speak for any particular party, but is there a contradiction in saying, look, Mr. Modi will not be Prime Minister on 4th June, but the Election Commission is biased. Look, there's a problem with EVMs, but we're going to defeat him. Form 17 is necessary because there's a discrepancy in data, but we're winning. Is there a contradiction?
Yeah, I think there is a contradiction. I think, let me quote, I think George Bernard Shaw, who said that a politician will do anything to be successful. He'll even tell the truth. I mean, I have to be a little humorous and cynical right now because we are living in times of deep trust deficit. And to me, it doesn't seem like a negative thing. Because one of the reasons why we have institutions, whether it's the media, I know in India, constitutionally, the media is not a recognized institution. Barkha, you and I are prodding on in spite of the fact that we have no official sanction as the fourth estate. It's just a nice term they use to damn us whenever it suits them. Now, the other thing is that checks and balances exist as a term in a democracy with as institutions, precisely because when there is a lack of trust, the checks and balances will ensure any, it's an insurance against abuse of power and or incompetence in some cases. In the present instance, one thing I agree with you, Barkha, that you go and tell the people we are going to win anyway, and then you complain about election commission because, you know, as they say, speak softly but carry a gun. So they just want to make sure that there is no, margins that are disrupted by this. But there are two, 3 points I want to make on this. One is, of course, I've made about checks and balances. I know much as Mr. Mohandas Pai will hold forth on, how people are upset and judgments are there. The fact is that even judges can go wrong. Judges can lack integrity. So can politicians, so can journalists. Everybody can have a character. Integrity and competence are not a monopoly of any profession, which is why we have institutional processes and balances. And let me speak as with the experience of someone who understands both technology and media, to which I belong, which is that people talk about the prime minister not having held press conferences for 10 years. Let me remind you that the election commission has also stopped having press conferences at the end of every polling day. And this is worrying because uh, this was some kind of an accountability to the public through the media. Now we only have announcements and website uploads. And within that, we have already had the election commission going on record saying that we will do what we have to, we must, not what you want. In other words, they are not going that extra mile to be democratic in their conduct in terms of accountability to the public. This is increasing the anxiety and worsening the trust deficit. I agree. In fact, I was surprised to see Mohandas Pai talking about how the election commission can explain the delay. The simple fact is that the election commission has not been coming clean on the delays, leading to a certain trust deficit in the political atmosphere in which there has been controversies over the alleged abuse of power by the Enforcement Directorate, the CBI, and other agencies. There is a tendency to assume that there is something wrong, even there is none, which is why we have to go. The Election Commission has an independent institution and not an arm of,
Okay. I
not an
can.
arm. Okay,
Sorry.
now
Yeah.
let me say one thing, which I heard two election commissioners also say yesterday, that this whole Form 17 is one thing of a micro level form. We needn't get the data, but the delay taken in aggregating that thing and the discrepancy in the initial turnout and final number is so huge that it raises suspicions, and the election commission owes us an explanation, according to me, on why there is a delay. And one thing that must be noted, that the NGOs and the media seem to be more concerned than the opposition in this, which is a mystery to me that I haven't been able to solve. Except for Mahua Maitra, the others are not really taking that case up. And that is something that, Barkha, maybe you need to do a story on as to why is it that the media seems to be more worried about this than the opposition. But having
Okay.
said that, I have the right to say as a media person that there has been a complete attitude problem on the election commission. At a,
Okay.
from
I
having
get.
intelligible press releases, we are having raw data being
Okay.
stealthily uploaded. and
I get your argument.
and
Let me bring
what
in
kind of
Anurag.
digital India are we talking about?
Those are two good questions, Anurag. The point is that if the election commission had, for example, held a weekly press conference and take an open press conference, or every, even a daily press conference saying, okay, this is what's happening, that sense of not being answerable to the public. The election commission is not answerable to anybody but the constitution and the people of India. And I think the point that Maadhavan is making is, all right, the opposition, maybe some people will say, oh, they're preparing, they're making excuses if they lose the election, etc., etc. Their position is contradictory. Let's put all of that on one side. We all agree that more transparency is better than less. So if the election commission were more communicative, more in dialogue with the people of India, perhaps none of these things would wash or stick or enter WhatsApp forwards. What do you say, Anurag? I can't hear Anurag.
What we
Yeah,
have,
now I can.
yeah, Barkha, what we have to understand is only if the election commission communicates in the way we want them to do, only then there is an amount of trust, and only then they are transparent enough. That is something which I think we should not get into that. Look, you have to understand the ways of communication have changed. Barkha, you've been in communication and mass media for so long. We've always evolved. Now we have social media, we have the state. Let me tell you, the state media agencies are far more active than the national media agencies today. And I have, out of all the panel that is sitting today in the studio or in the newsroom right now, I have the privilege of being a part of the election process, helping my friends out in electioneering this time. And I can tell you, Barkha, this time around, I'll give you a recent example from Andhra Pradesh. The voting has gone in some of the booths till 1 o'clock in the night, 12 o'clock in the night, right? And the next day, there was a press conference from the state election commissioner putting out a consolidated data. Each and every member has been handed out with Form 17C. Each and every member. My narrative is, my point, Barkha, what I'm trying to make is there a bunch of candidates who have represented to the court telling that, boss, you have given the election commissioner or my polling agent has been given a Form 17C, which I'm going to contest, which I'm not happy with, either of the sides. So the candidates, by and large, have not approached the court. And it is a narrative that one section is trying to build, that they're not being transparent, is something that you need to understand. That election commission, at least I can tell you, majority of the seats have already gone past by the voting. And I can say this time, each and every data if you see the state newspapers the very next day or the subsequent day, you will have the statement, official press conference by the state election commissioners from each and every seats, and the seats that have had conflict, they're putting out very clearly that this is the number. So there is no conflict. Who are the people who are going to be affected by the display of